let me point out that there is nothing wrong with murder. There is nothing wrong with rape. There is nothing wrong with slavery. There is nothing wrong with child abuse. There's nothing wrong with torturing babies for fun. There's nothing wrong with anything unless God exists. No, it's just your opinion against somebody else's opinion. In fact, if there is no God, you can't say that this was really wrong. Oh, you could say you didn't like it. You could say it was inconvenient. You could say it made you sad, but you can't say it was objectively morally wrong. Why not? That's just your opinion against bin Laden's opinion. There's no standard beyond humanity. 2 months ago, I was in Germany. I went to the Buchenwald concentration camp outside of Erfurt, Germany, near Weimar. In April of 1945, the Allies liberated the camp. When they walked into the camp, they went through the gate, they went right to the crematorium, which is still standing. And when they got to the courtyard of the crematorium, here is what they saw. Brace yourself. The Allied commander was so upset, he went out to the local town of Weimar and he ordered every civilian to come into the camp and see what was going on right under their noses. If there is no God, then this is not objectively wrong. This is just your opinion. It's just your opinion against Hitler's opinion. Now, everybody in this room realizes this is objectively morally wrong. It's just not somebody's opinion. If that's the case, there must be a source for this. Now, how do we state this syllogistically? Every law has a lawgiver. There is an objective moral law. Therefore, there is an objective moral lawgiver. Every prescription has a prescriber. Hang on a second. Every prescription has a prescriber. Suppose you go to the pharmacist with a prescription, and he looks at you and he says, "Hey, who prescribed this?" And you go, "Nobody." Are you going to get the medicine? No. Every prescription has a prescriber. There is a prescription on humanity that says certain things are right and certain things are wrong. If that's the case, there has to be God. This was brought out by Jefferson in the foundation of our country, the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be what? Self-evident that all men were created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Can I prove to you that murder is wrong? Well, if I could prove to you the Bible's true, yeah, but generally no. You just know it. You just know it's wrong. It's written on your heart. A friend of mine teaches down at UT Austin. He wrote the book, Jacob Jashevsky wrote the book, What We Can't Not Know. He used to argue with people in his class and said, how do you know murder's wrong? He doesn't argue anymore. You know what he says? You don't have any real doubt that murder's wrong, do you? Just about everybody goes, no, I don't. I know it's wrong. Why is it wrong? Do you need to know the Bible to know murder's wrong? No. The Bible may give you more detail on morality, but everybody knows basic morality from the moral law written on your heart. In fact, how do you know who's right and who's wrong here? Mother Teresa or Hitler? Well, let's look at it this way. How do you know which map of Scotland is better? How do you know which map of Scotland is better? What would you need to see in order to know which one's better? Anyone? You need to see a real, unchanging place called Scotland. And when you do, you can see map A. Well, it's not perfect. It's a better representation of the real Scotland than is map B. If Scotland doesn't exist, then these two maps are meaningless, right? But since Scotland does exist, we can see map A is better because we measure the two maps by the real thing. That's exactly what we do when we compare Mother Teresa and Hitler. Mother Teresa wasn't the standard. Hitler wasn't the standard. There's a standard beyond both of them by which we measure both of them. And we say Mother Teresa measured up to the standard better than did Hitler. That is God's unchanging moral nature. He is the standard of measurement. Now, if there is no objective morality, just to drive this point home, the Nazis were not wrong. I was at Michigan State last year, and on this side of the audience there were a couple of atheists during the Q&A. We were going back and forth on morality. And I finally asked one of them, I said, well, what is your standard for morality? And one of them said, whatever the majority decides is right. So I said, are you telling me that if you're in Nazi Germany and you decide to kill Jews, that that's morally right? And he stopped, and he blushed, and his upper lip quivered, he hesitated, and he went, yes. And his buddy right next to him said, no! But that's the implication. He knew in his heart that murder was wrong, but in order to try and be consistent with his worldview, he had to deny it. If there is no objective morality, love is no better than rape, freedom is no better than slavery. Religious crusades are not wrong. I always hear people saying, oh, you religious people, you've done so many evil things. Okay, yeah, that's probably true, but how do you know evil unless you know good? How could they be wrong? There's no standard of rightness. How can anything be wrong? Of course, tolerance is no better than intolerance. People always say, you got to be tolerant. Oh, we do? Why? There's no such thing as objective morality. And you can't complain about the problem of evil. This is what Christopher Hitchens does. He complains about evil. How all the evil religious people have done. And when you read his book, there's a lot of good stuff in his book. He's right about a lot of stuff. Yeah, religious people have done evil things. But that doesn't disprove God. In fact, you wouldn't even know evil unless you knew good. This is what brought C.S. Lewis ultimately to become a Christian. He thought that the universe was so cruel and unjust. And here's what he wrote in Mere Christianity. He said, my argument as an atheist was that the universe seems so cruel and unjust, but how had I got this idea of just and unjust? A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. What was I comparing this universe with when I called it unjust? You have to have an idea of a straight line to know what a crooked line is. The shadows prove the sunshine. The only way you can have shadows is if you have sunshine. The only way you can have evil is if you have good. Oh, you can have sunshine without shadows. You can have good without evil, but you can't have evil without good. So evil does not disprove God. It may prove there's a devil out there, but it doesn't disprove God because you wouldn't even know what evil was unless there was a standard of good outside yourself. And that's God's very nature.